I want to talk to you about something that has cost us in America billions of dollars. It's been a severe problem for many of us. Many of you in this room, you've actually contributed to this. You've paid into this billions of dollars in what I would simply call a restoration act. This crazy thing that I'm talking to you about is a broken iPhone. How many of you have experienced this tragedy? Yes. Yes, I have experienced this tragedy multiple times, including with my brand new iPhone. Now, thankfully, it's not as damaged as the one in the picture. It's still quite functional at this moment, but it's cracked. It's got a nice crack up here. It's missing some glass right here. It's cracked right here. And you want to know why it's cracked? Because I dropped it. What we found out, Andrew looked this up for me today because he's awesome. What we found out is that, what is it, Andrew? Give me the exact, $10.7 billion has been spent on not just purchasing an iPhone. No, that's the money that's been spent just on repairing the glass when somebody drops it. Now, what's crazy about this to me is that just with a little bit of wisdom, I could have spared my phone this tragedy, and I could have prevented myself from contributing to this $10.7 billion deficit, right? If I'd have just put a case on it. Prayer is your life's protective case. Jesus never promised you that you would have an easy life. Jesus never said that you would never experience difficulty in life. There are moments in life when it feels like you've just been dropped, right? There are moments that we go through where we feel the weight of the world come down on us. But we don't have to shatter when those moments happen. You don't have to shatter when those moments happen. But there's only one way to protect yourself, and that way is through prayer. Thank you, prayer. Prayer is your life's protective case. Now again, understand what I'm saying. It doesn't mean those circumstances don't happen. Prayer does not prevent all bad things from happening to you. The Bible doesn't say that. Jesus never said that. In fact, what Jesus promises you is that you will be persecuted and there will be hardships in your life. You want to know why? Because the devil hates that you love Jesus. More importantly, the devil hates that Jesus loves you. And so the devil wants to do everything in his power to try to break your faith in God. He wants to bring hardship. He wants to try to bring sickness. He wants to try to bring poverty and disease. He wants to try to bring bullies into your life. He wants to try to bring suicidal thoughts. He wants to bring all these things against you to make you question, God, if you really love me, if you really care, why would you allow these things to go on in my life? But Jesus was clear with us. It's going to happen. The devil hates you. He's going to bring these things against your life, but you're not without hope and you're not without protection. It comes in the form of prayer. It comes in the form of prayer. Now Jesus, he's prophesying to the crowd that he's about to endure the cross. His whole purpose in life, the whole reason why he came, the lamb that was to be slain for the sins of the world is about to take place. Up until this point, Jesus has been preaching the good news. But now he's about to live out that good news gospel. And his soul is overwhelmed. And a voice from heaven cries out, and Jesus declares to the crowd, it wasn't for my benefit that you heard that voice. Now that interests me, because I look at Jesus and I look at what he's about to go through, and I wondered myself, why was that not a benefit to Jesus? Here's why. Because in Jesus' secret place of prayer, he'd already heard the Lord speak to him. See, when the crowd hears this declaration from the heavens, to them this is a new revelation. This is the first time they're hearing this. But it wasn't Jesus' first time. Let me give you an example. Jesus, Lazarus, his best friend, one of his best friends, Lazarus dies, right? And they come and tell Jesus, hey, Lazarus is dead. Jesus weeps at the death of Lazarus. Why? Because Jesus lived out humanity like we do, and death caused him to mourn. But here's the interesting thing about this is that Jesus shows up and Jesus says, well, he'll just come back to life, no big deal. But he still weeps about it, which is kind of an interesting thing because he already knew that he was going to raise him from the dead. But he shows up and Jesus prays a prayer, and Jesus declares to the crowd, after he says this, he says, Lazarus is going to be raised from the dead. He prays a prayer to God to raise Lazarus from the dead. And then he looks at the crowd and says, I didn't pray this prayer for myself. I prayed it for you. I prayed this prayer so that you would hear it, not for my benefit, because I already know what the Lord has declared about this situation. No, I prayed this prayer so that you would see that the Lord answers my prayers. See, Jesus was able to go in this situation with Lazarus with complete confidence because in his secret place of prayer, he already heard the Lord speak the outcome of the situation. You see how that forms a protective case around Jesus' life? He didn't have to be shattered and destroyed. He still mourned because he was living humanity with us. He still wept over the death of his friend, but Jesus knew the outcome was not going to be death, that Lazarus would be raised to new life. So when Jesus shows up on the scene to pray for Lazarus to be raised from the dead, he comes in complete confidence. He's got this protective case around him because he's already sought the Lord about this situation. He knows what God has declared, and you can do the exact same thing